Hi, loves, and welcome back to the Intuitive Creators Podcast. Today's episode is one I've been wanting to dive into for a while because it's a conversation I have over and over again with students, friends, and even strangers when they ask me what I do. The title says it all. Yoga is not a workout, it's a spiritual practice. Now, before we get into it, let me just say, there's nothing wrong with movement, fitness, or even using yoga postures as a way to get strong and flexible. That's beautiful. That's one doorway into yoga. But if that's all we think yoga is, then we're missing out on the heart of it, the roots, the wisdom, and the reason yoga has been practiced for thousands of years. A little history and some context, just for you, my friends. Yoga's origins go back over 5,000 years in India. The word yoga itself comes from the Sanskrit root yuj, which means to yoke, to unite. Unite what, you might wonder? Our body, mind, spirit, and ultimately our connection with the divine. When yoga first began, it wasn't about handstands or backbends. It was about meditation, discipline, devotion, and liberation. In fact, the physical postures, what we call asana, were developed later as a way to prepare the body for meditation. To sit still for long periods of time, the body had to be healthy and balanced. So asana was never meant to be the end goal. I sometimes compare it like this. Using yoga just for exercise is like buying a book and only looking at the cover. It looks nice. Maybe it feels inspiring, but you haven't opened it. You haven't received the wisdom inside. I want to share a little bit of my own personal story. If you do not know, I have been a yoga teacher full-time for the last 8 years and practicing, I think I'm at 13. I don't know. I've lost track, honestly. It's not really about the time. It's more about what I've learned. Let me share a personal moment when this became real for me, this whole concept. When I first started into yoga, yes, I was drawn to the physical side, of course. I wanted to feel better in my body, release stress, and stretch. But then something happened. After class, I noticed I wasn't just more flexible, I was more calm. My mind was quieter, my intuition was louder. Now, mind you, I didn't step out of the physical and into the spiritual for at least, I want to say a good 3 to maybe even 5 years of practice. So I don't really beat myself up or other people judging them in their journey. Like, we all come to this space in our own time and in our own ways, right? But I also want to put out there that when I went deeper into training as a yoga teacher, I realized the poses were just one limb of yoga. The other limbs included ethics, meditation, breath, concentration, surrender to the divine. And that hit me hard once it did. I remember people around me saying, "Oh, yoga is just stretching. You're basically a fitness instructor now, right?" And that triggered me at first, because no, there's so much more to what I do than exercise. This was my path to self-awareness, healing, spiritual connection, and I wanted to share that with others. And I know some of you listening have probably had the same frustration when people reduce yoga to a workout. Or maybe you're on the other side, you're a student, and you're like, well, I thought that that's what it is. There's an element of truth there, but it is only a very small portion of what it is. In order for us to really understand, we actually have to do the thing. We have to practice it, and not just the one time. I usually tell people who have never done it before, go and take different classes, different times, different teachers. Do at least several before you make a judgment, before you figure out whether it's something that you actually enjoy or if there's something in there for you. The one time doesn't really do much of anything. So yeah, it's kind of triggering when people reduce it down to something like, I'm a fitness instructor. First of all, no, I'm not a fitness instructor. I'm a yoga teacher, right? I teach the practice of yoga, not I instruct the body to become fit. Those are two different things, two very different things. I don't even like being called an instructor. To me, being a yoga teacher is of the highest regard, whereas an instructor is very specific to an industry that has not been around for thousands of years. I'm just saying. So let's talk about the 8 limbs of yoga. If you're not familiar, well, then you're going to get familiar now. So let's break it down. Patanjali's Yoga Sutras outline what's known as the 8 limbs of yoga. If you don't know who that is, it's all good. We're here for every aspect of our education. Number 1 is yamas, ethical guidelines like nonviolence, truthfulness, non-stealing. 2, niyamas, inner observances like self-discipline, self-study, and surrender. Number 3 is asana, so the physical postures. 4 is pranayama, breath control, working with life force energy. 5, pratyahara, which I can never pronounce very well, so I am butchering it. I apologize. Withdrawal of senses, going inward. Number 6, dharana, concentration. Number 7, dhyana, meditation. And the final 8th is samadhi, bliss, union with the divine. Notice asana is just 1 out of the 8, 1/8, if you will. Yet in the West, we're zoomed in so much on asana that we've forgotten or ignored the other 7. This is why yoga is not a workout. It's a full spiritual path, a guide for living with integrity, mindfulness, and connection. So yoga as a spiritual practice in daily life, what does this look like? How does this shift things for us practically? When you roll out your mat, can you ask yourself, am I here just to sweat, or am I here to connect? When you're in a warrior pose, can you notice your breath and how it grounds you instead of just focusing on your quads burning? When you step off of your mat, can you take yoga with you into the way you speak, the way you eat, the way you treat others? For me, yoga has taught me to pause before reacting, to breathe when I'm anxious, to speak truthfully even when it's hard, and to remember I'm never separate from God, the universe, source, or whatever word you resonate with. That's the essence of yoga. So let's switch gears for a couple moments. I want to talk about common misunderstandings or, just myths in general and clear them up for you so that you can feel a little bit more educated, feel a little bit better about the subject, and like you can even talk to another yoga teacher or a yoga teacher in general. Maybe you're a student and you don't know, much of what I'm talking about right now. So myth number 1, this is, I'm sure everyone has heard this one. Yoga is about being flexible. Nope. Yoga meets you where you are. flexibility is a byproduct, not the goal. You want to become more flexible so that it opens you up to, things physically, but also mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Flexibility isn't always something that is talking about the physical. And in fact, if you look up the meaning of the word, it can be used for a multitude of things, depending on the context. Number 2 is one that really irks me. Yoga is a religion. Nope. Yoga is a philosophy and spiritual practice, but it can be practiced alongside any faith. So when we talk about philosophy, it's something that you can incorporate into your life and into whatever practices you have. It is not religion. Religion has structure and discipline to it in different ways, but it's structured specifically for you can do this and you shouldn't do that. Now, I'm sure that's going to sound negative, but what I mean by that is it is what it is. I'm not being emotional in terms of how I'm talking about religion. Now, if you're a spiritual person and you understand exactly what I mean by that, amazing. If you are a religious person and you're listening to this podcast, just know I am not into religion. I want to make that really clear, just so you have some understanding here. I am a philosophical and spiritual person, so I don't claim a religion. In fact, I respect all religions. I enjoy looking them up. I enjoy learning about them and studying them because I believe in being able to have the choice to choose and not be pushed into a structure of this is the only thing. I'm sure that'll be a whole nother episode. Stay tuned. Myth number 3. This is a fun one. You need fancy leggings, a perfect body, or to do advanced poses. Nope, not at all. Yoga is about presence, not performance. I've talked about it in other episodes. Please take a listen to those whenever you can. But yeah, no, you can wear sweatpants or your freaking pajamas. Honestly, when I practice yin at a studio, I'm wearing my pajamas and I do not give a fuck. Do I have a perfect body? Oh gosh, no. No. Although I'm sure a lot of people probably consider my body perfect. And for that, I say thank you. Thank you. Advanced poses. I don't do a handstand. Been practicing over a decade. I do not do a handstand. Personally, for me, my mental blockages are the reason for that. I'm afraid. I'm literally afraid. But I'm working to let go of that fear and to liberate myself, creating a sense of strength and freedom in all aspects. So maybe one day, but that doesn't mean I'm worthy or not to do yoga just because I can't do a handstand. So it's really more about my presence and me showing up to my mat rather than performing a little dance for nobody. So here's where I give you some practical advice, my friends. Practices for you, my listeners. Here are a few ways to connect with yoga beyond the workout lens. Morning breath practice. Before you even move, take 5 deep breaths and set an intention for your day. That's yoga. Svadhyaya. I can never pronounce that very well, so please don't make fun of me, but it's the self-study aspect of philosophy. Journal 1 reflection each night. What did I learn about myself today? Ahimsa. Now, this is my favorite of the philosophy. Non-violence. Choose one kind action towards yourself or someone else daily. Meditation, arguably the most important out of all of these things. Start with 3 minutes of stillness, noticing your breath. That's it. Meditation should really not be complicated or, made to be this big thing that you have to master. You don't have to master it all. I've been meditating for years, and I still feel like sometimes when I show up on my mat or in my meditation seat that I am just not present. I'm really not there, and that's okay. So I just make the practice about my breath. And then eventually I get back to that feeling of groundedness. These are all yoga practices. None of them require being able to do a headstand, just so you know. So some personal shares and just like my raw in the moment thoughts here. I think this is an important conversation to have, and I don't mean, and I don't have the intention to make anybody feel bad if maybe this is the information that they had thought about and, nobody ever told them this. Whatever the thing is, education will always be powerful for us as humans, right? Knowledge is power. I'm a firm believer in that. Now, when I say that, what I'm really saying is that it's okay for you to be in the process of learning and evolving. I'm still learning and evolving. Just because I've been teaching for almost a decade doesn't mean I know everything about yoga, okay? I am still learning so much, whether it be physically, mentally, spiritually, in terms of philosophy, in terms of, all of it, just all of it. So I don't want anybody to feel down and out about themselves or to judge themselves for not knowing such things, but I would encourage you to do research. Talk to somebody who teaches, talk to somebody who practices, connect with people who might know more information, and it might make you feel a whole lot better about the subject. But really, if you are practicing yoga, you are practicing spiritual things, right? Not necessarily spirituality unless that's what you claim or if that's something that resonates with you. Yoga is just a practice. It is something that can help you connect to yourself. There is nothing wrong with that. And it's not a negative thing. It's actually an amazing thing. But also, it's not a workout. And it's not fitness. It's not lifting weights. It's not strengthening, your core by doing a million crunches. Like, it doesn't involve equipment specifically. I mean, granted, props, I wouldn't say is equipment. Fitness is very, very specific. And to me, it still gets similar things. Like, it can be very mental, it can be very physical, right? It can even be emotional at times. But yoga targets different things. Very, very different things. It makes you become more introspective. It makes you want to learn more about yourself and your habits and your patterns, right? And it gives you that ability to gradually learn those things, with time, with space, with safety, and with understanding. So if there's one thing I want you to take away today, it's this. Yoga is a path, not a workout. The asanas are a doorway, but the destination isn't something deeper. But the destination is something much deeper. Union, liberation, and connection to the self and spirit. If you've only ever approached yoga as exercise, I invite you to open the book and start reading beyond the cover. Explore the breath, the meditation, philosophy. Let it touch your life in ways that no workout ever could. Thank you for being here with me today. If this resonated, share it with a friend or message me with your own experiences of yoga as a spiritual practice. I love hearing your stories. And remember, your practice doesn't have to look like anyone else's. It just has to be about you. Until next time, may you carry your yoga off the mat and into your life. Namaste.